MMAOddsBreaker. Of course, this week we're talking to Will Brooks. We were just talking about memorabilia and gear and favorite sports team kind of gear. I'm not a sports team guy. I'm not a guy that wears my stuff all the time and I always got to have this on. But like I was telling you, I love Bulls gear. Love it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. There's something about it. You're from there. I just fell in love with the icon and with the thing. When it comes to sports teams, because you've relocated, you're down south now.
Yeah.
Did you change your sports team loyalty, or did you stick with? I'm from Chicago, so I'm still a White Sox, Cubs, Bears, Bulls fan. That's it.
Yeah, no, man, I didn't change my colors at all, man. It's always Bulls or the White Sox or Chicago Bears. I got a love-hate relationship with the Chicago Bears, but I don't change for nobody, even though I'm out here in Florida and everybody's got Miami this and all this, but I don't I don't back down, man. I wear my Chicago Bulls stuff, my Chicago Bears, my White Sox. I'm not a Cubs fan. My girl is a Cubs fan. I let her be a Cubs fan. I'm all right.
She'd be miserable for another 100 years.
Yeah, right.
Well,
always next year.
It's tough. I mean, for most people, when they move towns, move cities, it's like, oh yeah, I just moved cities. My loyalty is still there. It's not that big of a deal. But you're a high-profile athlete in a high-profile sport that's on TV. You run into some of these athletes. You run into these guys, especially living where you live. You're going to run into a lot of athletes in different sports and different genres. Are you friends with any other professional athletes in different sports that aren't part of the teams that you like?
No, not really. No, I haven't had that opportunity to meet too many other pro athletes. Back home in Chicago, I mean, I run into Derrick Rose and different occasions, but it wasn't like we were like buddies or anything like that. I happened to meet Devin Hester at one point, but nothing too serious. Just shook his hand and went our opposite ways. But I haven't had that opportunity yet. But if it comes down the line, it comes down the line. But I've mainly been focusing on trying to get better as a fighter, so I never had too much time to do too much.
I got lucky through my ex-wife here in Vegas. We knew a lot of people, and she was in marketing, so we got to meet a lot of different people, and we started meeting athletes that lived here in the off-season from different sports.
Yeah.
And what it did is it ruined my team loyalty. Because what I'm doing now is, instead of just, okay, I'm from Rochester, New York, which means I got the Buffalo Bills. I follow the Buffalo Sabres. I could follow the Penguins. People would understand that when it comes to hockey, but I kind of stick with the Sabres. When it comes to baseball, everyone's either Yankees or Mets. I was neither one. I was kind of a Baltimore Orioles fan and then just kind of faded out. But now I have no team loyalty because I know too many guys that play in different sports, so all I'm doing is watching the game to watch them compete and see how they're doing and see what their performance levels are like.
Yeah, see, man, that wouldn't. I could never do it, man. Even if I knew a bunch of guys from different teams, I'd still be a Bulls fan. I'd still be a Chicago Bears fan. I don't care, man. It's just if I knew like a guy who played for the Packers,
Like, I'm sorry, man. Yeah. Good luck to you. Hope you have a good, healthy game, but
we'd have to call off our friendship whenever the Bears and Packers play or something like that, Yeah. So, I can't do it, man. Friends or no friends, I gotta stay committed to where I'm from.
Well, let's talk about that. A different time, in a different space. You and Mike Chandler, your opponent, could probably be very close friends because you're both training super hard. You're very dedicated and committed to family life. Both of you are stressing, trying to advance the sport as a whole while trying to build up the weight class. And people realize, hey, it's not just one promotion that has all the great fighters at this weight class. Bellator does too. Like, here it is. But because not, you guys, and location, obviously, he's over in San Diego and you're down in Florida. You guys have to compete. And now this is the second time. You fought back in May. And you won the split decision. And this is now coming on to if you're going to fight him again, back to back. You guys aren't trash talkers. You guys aren't really, you don't post up. You don't get on soapboxes and say how bad this other guy is. When I had a rivalry, I hated that guy. Like, I really hated him. Like, it was legit. We had a legit problem with each other. We've since squashed the beef. We've since figured it out. But we had a legit problem with each other. So we had to fight again. It was very easy to get back in that train camp mode. How hard is it to get back in train camp mode with somebody when you're like, they're in their heart, they're kind of a decent guy, they're kind of okay, and they have no ill will towards them. It's just another fight. Like, how hard is it to get back in the train camp and get hyped up for a guy like that?
You know what? Excuse me. I would honestly say, I mean, it hasn't been that hard just because even though me and Chandler don't talk too much trash, there has been a little bit of animosity between us. I think just because we're both trying to work so hard to be the face of the organization and really try to bring so much spotlight to the organization. And there's always that animosity where there can only be one guy. Right now there's an empty throne and there's an empty crown, and somebody's got to wear it. And being that we're both highly focused competitors, that's a problem for both of us to have between each other. I think, and there's been a few words exchanged here and there, nothing that's out of the world or anything like that, nothing extreme, but to the point where we both know how to say things to another guy that is highly competitive. I think we recognize what type of character we both are, so it only takes a couple words. It may not be the nastiest things to say to someone, but we both have an understanding of what to say to get under each other's skin. So I think he said a couple things, and I've said a couple things, and he knew what I meant, and he knows and I know what he means. So it's been a little bit of a bad blood, and I think that last fight, it was a lot of speculation about him winning and I lost, or I won and he lost. So it was a close fight. And, I think he's a very, and this is just my opinion, I think he's a very egotistical guy. He has a very hard time, I guess, getting his ego in check. So having to take that loss kind of rubbed him the wrong way, got under his skin. And just the way it went about, the way the fight went about, like he was beating me pretty good the first 2 rounds and taking me down. And then all of a sudden, I came out and really put it on him in that 3rd round and just continued on to be, I was smiling and having a good time and just having fun with it. And I think in between rounds you could kind of see in his face it didn't sit well with him. Yeah. So I think that kind of builds a little bit of animosity, not what people are typically used to, but I think there's a little bit more to it. And he has an understanding of what it is, and I have an understanding of what it is. So I guess if I had to say it, we wouldn't be friends. I personally think there are some things about his character that I don't think is genuine. I think he's really trying to promote himself as this, I never do anything wrong, I never say anything wrong, like everybody should like me thing, and I think he doesn't like me because he knows that I'm never going to go out of my way to be, let me watch what I say to everybody and watch how I carry myself and make sure I do this and make sure everybody likes me. He knows that I'm never going to be that, so I think we kind of bump heads there also.
When I say trash talking, like there's no hard line when you guys are going crazy. Like a lot of stuff you guys are saying is really just fight hype. It's just got really nothing, and it's two guys, 2 alpha male gentlemen with big egos trying to prove that they should be the face of the company at the same time in the same weight class. It's not like you're battling Tito Ortiz and Stephan Bonner for that position. Right, you're battling a guy at your same weight class. But the guy at a different weight class, you guys can battle all the time and be in the same picture together because it's different weight classes. But you guys are battling at the same space, so it's really hard. I totally get what you're saying, but really I don't consider anything that you guys have said at all and that I've looked at any kind of trash talking. Now, other people are called that, hey, that's a lot of trash talking, but they don't understand the game. Like I get the game.
They don't.
You guys aren't doing anything out of the ordinary. You're not going crazy. You're not, getting on and having this hard line every time. So it's been a really almost a quiet come up. Like it's almost a quiet fight. You guys are a co-main event. Coming up in San Diego. I'm actually going to be there live watching this fight, and it's almost like this fight to me is way more important for the organization than the Bonner Tito fight. This fight to me has way more excitement level, has way more passionate for me. Plus, too, because it was a split decision last time you guys fought.
Right.
So it's going to be another close fight. No matter how you pin it out, it's going to be another close fight. Did you have to change anything in your training camp because now you've gone? I trained for Mike. I fought Mike. Now I know what's that. Now I really understand how to go against this guy. Did you change anything, like different strength conditioning, or spend more time on some combos, or spend more time on wrestling, or anything in particular, or was it same game plan as always?
No, man. Honestly, we didn't change anything just because we felt like we put together a very solid performance that last fight. I started out a little slow in the 1st and 2nd round. But overall, I went out there and I was using skills that I was just starting to learn, just because I was working a lot of wrestling in my previous fights, and I wasn't a huge fan of the striking yet. I wasn't too comfortable with it. So to be able to go out there and originally be scheduled to fight Nate Jolly, who I was actually, not to take anything away from him, but I was going to use that fight. I think we all do that. We use fights to test new skills and get better at things, So when we have to turn around and fight guys like Michael Chandler, we can be ready for those fights, and that's what we were going to do. We were going to test these different striking skills, different footwork. And then I was like, thrown into the fire and had to go out there and perform against a guy like Michael Chandler. And, I went out there and I did exactly what I was going to do against Nate Jolly, is really focus on my striking and really focus on evolving. So I think we put together a good performance regardless of opponent change, Again, I started out slow, but I don't think I need to change anything. There's some things that I need to polish up. There's some things that I need to change as far as, I wouldn't say change, but maybe a quicker tempo, maybe start out a little bit quicker, just because I need to understand who Michael Chandler is as a fighter and as an athlete. He's a pressure guy. I honestly don't believe he's that dynamic. He's quick, he's fast, he's explosive with his big left hand, big right hand. And if he is not able to hit you with either, he's going to pressure you to take you down. So you have to be up tempo. You have to have solid footwork and be ready to go from the opening bell. So going into this training camp, again, we looked at the last fight. Of course, you want to evolve, but at the same time, we were happy with the performance. And what we saw was just opportunity to polish things up and clean things up, rather than change your strategy and change your game plan.
How many training partners right now have fights coming up, like within the next couple of weeks, just like you do?
Oh man, at American Top Team, you get like 5 or 6 guys who's got fights coming up at the same time. Like maybe it's a regional show, but then all of a sudden you turn over and you might have 2 guys that's fighting in the UFC. You might have 2 guys that's fighting in Bellator at the same time. So we always have a pretty solid mix of guys who are getting ready for UFC fights, getting ready for Bellator fights. Again, the younger guys who are still fighting in regional shows and things like that. We have guys who are getting ready for World Series of Fighting, all types of different promotions that are working their ways up as promotion. But man, it's you never know, man. You never know. Everybody just kind of tries our best. We try our best to step outside of our personal training camps and understand that at the same time we may be getting ready for something, but we have to help our teammates get ready also.
Yeah.
So, our coaches, our coaching staff, and our team and other teammates, we do a pretty good job at being professional, understanding that we have to help each other. So it doesn't really get in the way too often.
It's kind of been, for me at least, over the last week or so, it seems like every day I'm all my interviews, every day at least I have one guy from ATT getting ready to go. And your name gets mentioned by all of them. It's kind of like, I talked to Pickett, I talked to Edwards, I've talked to, the names are escaping me now, but everybody down there I've been doing interviews with, and everyone, how's training, yeah, who are your training partners, Will Brooks, blah, 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 Will Brooks. Like, everybody's talking about you, one way or another. Nothing like, oh my gosh, he's so, no hype men. Just like, yeah, that's the guy I'm working out with, that's the guy I'm training with, like that's, every day he's in there, every day he's there for me. And that's one thing they said is that even though, and it's one of the things that it's hard for people to come into ATT and go, I'm getting ready for a camp. I'm getting ready for a big fight. This camp's supposed to be all about me, but you have 5 other guys that you train with every day. They're also getting ready for their thing. So yeah, normally it's 3rd round, man, I'm out. You're like, no. Today you're doing 5 rounds, just like everybody else says. You're doing 5 rounds, and 2 of those rounds you got to help somebody else get ready. This is how it works. Does that make you a better athlete? Because you're like, you can't always be selfish. You can't always think about yourself. Even though you're in a hurt business, you have to sometimes stand there, even though it's your time to get hurt a little bit to help that guy get ready. Oh
yeah, man. I think it's a huge help, especially with a guy like me that I'm a workhorse, man. That's how I've been my entire life. I want to go. I want to work. I want to get into a rhythm, and I want to not just be working to help myself, but I'm working to help the people around me. Not just my teammates, but like somehow impacting people around me. And when I'm in the gym, the best way I can do that is offering up my time to, I guess, mimic whoever that guy's fighting, and that helps me at the same time. I think a lot of guys aren't able to get that mindset, whereas they think that they're just being a punching bag or they're just being a training partner, but really you're getting an opportunity to evolve, you get an opportunity to try different skills, and you're figuring out what skills work for you and what skills don't work for you. And then you're thinking about, hey, this new skill that I've been doing, I've had to imitate. I might be able to do this. This feels good to me now. I can start throwing that into my repertoire. But that's how I approach it, man. That's why everybody that you like you said, you talk to all these guys. You hear my name mentioned as a training partner, is because each of these guys either brings something to American Top Team that I could use, or their opponents, that the guys that they're fighting, may do something that I could possibly use, may do something that I'm interested in, may do something that I could possibly implement into my own game plan. So I'm constantly having to evolve on the spot in the gym, not just evolve in the fights, So I think that's always going to create a problem for my opponents, because I constantly have to evolve. I constantly have to get better, because even though you're a training partner for some of these guys and you're having to mimic other opponents, other guys, and you're not that great at mimicking those other guys at that moment, you still have to figure it out, because you'll get steamrolled in this gym. So if you're mimicking someone, it's in your best to figure it out quick, figure it out as soon as possible. Like, for example, George Masvidal was getting ready for I can't think of his name. A kid from Detroit. He's a lightweight. He's a karate back. Crochet. Yeah. He was getting ready for him. He's a southpaw. I was actually helping George train for that, because I am a more athletic guy who can bounce around and move pretty quickly, and it forced me to have to go into that bouncing around karate styles, southpaw, spinning kicks, and all this stuff, and of course some of that stuff didn't work for me. But there was a couple of things in that time that I felt like when I was watching video for Crochet, just because that's how I do it. I watch video of my teammates' opponents so I can give them the best looks. I went in and I did those things, and I was like, man, some of this stuff feels good to me, Some of this stuff works, some of this doesn't work, but I feel comfortable going from traditional stance to going southpaw. I've got more offense from southpaw, when originally my southpaw, I only had a powerful leg kick or a head kick, and that was it. But now I can throw a jab, I can throw a cross, I can elude, I can be defensive. So now I can switch both ways and do several different things. So I'm always trying to help everybody. That's a huge thing for me,
And that really is the sign of really what we're doing is we're barbarians. We're really our warriors. We're samurai. Like, this is what we do. And the only way to be that is to keep evolving. If you stop evolving, especially in this sport, and that's really what happened to my generation of guys. There's very few guys that are still from my era that are still competing. Robbie Lawler is one of them, obviously, and doing an amazing job. And Yves Edwards is another guy who both down at your camp. And it's because they evolved. And the rest of us just didn't evolve. Like, we didn't, Father Time closed the window on us. Athletic skills got diminished a little bit, but we just didn't evolve as fast as the rest of these guys did. And now, if you don't evolve, it used to be you could survive a year without evolving before you kind of got left behind. Now it's legitimately every 2 or 3 months there's almost a complete evolution in the sport. Yeah. Do you feel that when you train with these guys? Like, because you have so many guys that come in from so many different parts of the country and of the planet, really, to come in and train. Do you feel like, oh wow, that's something new that we haven't seen yet? This guy that Pickett just brought in from England. It's like, ooh, that's a different striking combo or a different striking way. Or this guy brought this thing in from California. Like, whoa, I haven't seen that before, and it comes in. Is there anything like that going on right now at ATT?
Yeah, definitely, man. Every single day you see something like that. Even if like, let's say you're just standing off to the side and just watching. There's so many guys going. At some point, if you turn to your right or you turn to your left, you're going to see something that you haven't seen before, and you're going to be interested. You're going to be like, man, what was that? Or even if it's not these high level guys like a Edwards or Robbie Lawler or a Pickett or like not the bigger name guys. There's even some younger guys that are just working their way up that are doing things that we're just like, man, where did you get that from? Like you don't have enough experience to know that. Like you haven't done enough to know those skills. But there's guys who are pulling off things that you haven't seen. But I think that's also a benefit from training and fighting out of a gym like American Top Team. It's such a big facility. It's so well known, and they've been putting out such a good product for so long now. Yeah. Everybody wants to come there from all over the world, from different countries, speaking different languages, and once you get into the gym, you may not speak the same language, but we speak the same language as far as fighters go, as far as being athletes. Your movement, I can read your movement. I can understand your movement. You can understand my movement. I may not understand what you're saying to me directly out of your mouth, but we understand each other.
Right.
We have a common ground. So you can see that right to left. You're going to see something that you haven't seen before, and you're going to see a guy that's more than willing to teach you that or help you work towards being good at that technique. You know, you may not get it, but that guy's going to continue to help you try to get it. And if you're not feeling comfortable with it, that guy feels completely okay with just saying, yeah, you know what, like sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does. If it feels good to you, use it at some point, but just keep working on it and move on. Like yesterday, Ease Edwards, man, that guy's a veteran of the sport. He has a lot of tricky, I call them old man tricks. I always mess with him. I always call it old man tricks. He's got a lot of old man tricks that like parrying punches and throwing a kick over the top with the same hand, you know, different crazy little things that he does. As far as from standing even on the ground, he's got different ways to stand up and different sweeps and things that I haven't seen before that he shows me how to do some of them, and he lets me know what some things that may not work for a guy of my build, a guy of my skills, you know, like he gives me things that works for my skill set, and that's what we do at the gym. Some guys may have a lot of things that they're able to do, but we also have an understanding that some guys may not be able to use that one, or you know, it may not just be something that they should just put into their game plan. You know, it's something more. We try to give skills that fit guys' abilities. You know, and like I said, right to left, you're going to see it every single day.
Well, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you again. We have so much fun every time we do these interviews. This is actually the first time. Usually we spend 5 or 10 minutes talking before the interview, and that's like this time I was like, no, I'm gonna get right into it because we have so much good stuff we talk about that I never record because we move on to other things. But this is gonna be a great fight. I'm super excited to be in there and watch this thing live. I like watching fights live still, even though I've seen a couple thousand live. I'm still hooked on it, and this one is a great fight for me. I can't wait to watch this one between you two. And honestly, the people at home, this is the fight of the night. Like this is the fight they need to be paying attention to. The hype for the Bout Ortiz fight, yeah, I get it. I understand the name and that whole draw, but this is the fight. You and Chandler, that's the fight of the night on that card for sure.
Yes, sir. It's going to be a good fight, man. I think you got two guys that are extremely competitive and two guys that really have an understanding that there's only one guy that can sit in that throne and wear that crown, you know, and we don't need to exchange a bunch of words. We know that once we get in the cage, it'll all be solved. So this is going to be a good fight, man. I'm really excited about it.
I like to see it. All right, but I'll see you next week down there in San Diego. You have a great rest. Enjoy your Sunday. Have a great rest of the day. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, man. Take care.